Hey guys, Mark Dawes here, and I'm selling my garden. It's not sunny, but it's pretty close. So I thought I'd be out here because at least there's a bit of a breeze. So if you hear any wind noises, please forgive me. But I just thought I'd shoot this one out in the garden for you. Well, I just want to give you an update on what's been happening. As many of you will know, we had our conference on the 30th of June. Many of you attended it. It's well over 100 people were there. It was absolutely fantastic. It was great to meet up with some old friends and also to meet some new ones as well. And I'd first and foremost like to thank Eric Baskin for all the effort he put in helping us organise the actual event, and also to Liverpool John Moores University for allowing us to host the event there. It was really, really great of you. Thanks ever so much indeed. Well, we've now finally got the edited version of the speakers' videos, and we have the presentations. So for those of you that are interested, we'll be making those available to you very shortly. So keep an eye out for an email about that coming your way too. Also, last week we held our first conflict management masterclass, and we held it over 2 days at Lillishall. And first and foremost, once again, I'd like to thank both Sandra Ross and also Nicholas Davis for helping me run the event and adminning the event. Your help was absolutely, brilliant, guys. So thanks a lot for that one. It was brilliantly attended. We had a lot of people there, and the feedback we've had so far has been absolutely exceptional, because we took it further than the BTEC award. We actually called it a masterclass because we wanted to go further than what the awarding body qualifications take you. So we got involved with stuff like the psychology of conflict. We looked at various models like the Kaplan and Wheeler model. We mapped it over to the hierarchical response model. And again, we had a lot of very, very kind comments from people, and I'm talking about skilled people in the industry, police officers and people who have been trainers for 30 years plus were giving us some very, very favourable feedback on how we actually map these things over. So that was a great event, and if you attended that event, thank you so much for being there. And if you're thinking about attending it because you missed out on the July one, then the next course is taking place on the 29th and 30th of September at Lillishall, and you can find out about it on our website, or I'll probably put a link below this video to that one if you're interested in coming along. Now, as many of you will see, I've been doing this 22 push-up challenge as well. I was thankfully nominated for that, and I'm delighted to do it. I'm having a bit of a ball with it at the moment, actually, because I'm going around to lots of different places. I've decided that instead of just doing 22 push-ups a day, I'm going to do them somewhere of relevance in terms of going to a war memorial or to a landmark, or doing it with someone or a group of people that are linked in or some way to the military or otherwise. So Richard, thanks for the nomination, and for those of you that I've nominated, thanks for taking up the challenge. It's been absolutely brilliant. And by the way, if you're interested, you can follow me. I'm on Facebook. I've got a hashtag. It's hashtag MarkDawes22 for the 22. So if you put that in, it should pop up somewhere. But I've tried to make it as interesting as I can for you, so it'll give you a landmark each day as well as seeing me pump out 22 push-ups. So please feel free to watch and share the videos. One interesting conversation I had with someone actually on the conflict management masterclass, and this is someone who's very, very skilled. They asked me the question, and they said, look, if I want to teach physical restraint, and the question came from someone who's extremely skilled in teaching use of force. They said, well, what's my audit trail? What should I have in place? Because, in case you're thinking about training with us or anyone else, there is no requirement outside of the SIA, I must add. The SIA requires you to have certain qualification, but there's no requirement outside the SIA that you need to have a qualification. You do need to be competent in what you're doing, but you don't need a qualification per se. I mean, for example, the police force and the prison service don't give you a qualification in this stuff. They train you and they make you competent. But what this person asked me was, he said, look, I've got the competence, but what's my audit trail? How do I demonstrate my audit trail? And this got into quite an interesting conversation, because I said, well, you need things like a medical review nowadays. You want to have underpinning risk assessments for everything you do. Your training should be linked in on an evidence base, so like Mark Williams spoke about at the conference. You should be looking at techniques that map over to use of force reporting, so that they should be relevant to what the person's doing. You've got to evidence that your techniques, nowadays meet the skill criteria. And many of you out there who are skilled trainers, will know about Guthrie's law and Hicks law and all the other stuff. But also, more importantly, they've got to work under pressure. They've got to work under pressure and stress. And that means they've got to be pressure tested. Now, I actually know, and I'm going to come onto this in a video later on, I know there's someone out there with a view that you should not do dynamic role-play pressure testing scenarios. You're wrong. Of course you should do it. It's if you want to inoculate yourself from flu, you get a flu jab. If you're a firefighter, the only way that you will actually train to actually overcome the fear of going to a fire is to go into a firehouse and do this stuff, because I used to be a fire officer for the front part of a warship. So in terms of teaching any physical skill, if you want to train staff to be inoculated against the emotional hijacking that they're going to get the first time they go in, you have to pressure test, and the research and the evidence is there. But I'm going to come on to that on a later video anyway. But he was asking me all this stuff, and he said, well, I can put this in place. He said, how much does it cost? I said, well, a decent medical review from someone who's qualified, like Dr. Tony Bleetman, it's not cheap. And if you want a risk assessment done, and you want that risk assessment checked by someone who's competent and qualified, it's not cheap. If you want your documents legally reviewed and legally audited, it's not cheap. And he started to work out the costs, and you're looking at thousands and thousands of pounds. So he asked the question. He said, when I train with you, do I get all this? I said, well, yeah, of course you do. Yeah, we give you the medical review, the risk assessments are built into the manual, and all of our stuff's been legally audited and legally reviewed. We've had input from some eminent lawyers. So he said, so if I pay the £1,500 plus VAT and train with you, with the food and accommodation included, I'm actually saving about £5,000. His words. I said, yeah, you probably are. So it brings me back to an interesting question. Again, Mark Williams spoke about this on the course, on the conference, sorry. He said, don't try and be an expert in what you're not an expert in. And it's a really, really important thing to consider. Don't try and be an expert in what you're not an expert in. Get the experts to do your job. Now, I know that many of you out there want to be the best you can be, and your motivation and your drive for doing what you do is to be the best in the unitary sector, and so you should be. That takes investment, that takes time. But don't do this stuff on the cheap, guys, because it will come up and it will bite you. It will come up behind it and it will bite you on the backside one day. Because you can get risk assessments done, you can probably do them yourself. But the question that will be asked in court is, what's the qualifications and competencies of the person who did the risk assessment? So it's worth getting the right people to do that for you. Oh, and on that basis, we have an online risk assessment course, if you're interested in that there. I mean, quite a few people have signed up for that post the conference, and I think that's quite a good thing to do, and I'm not trying to flog it to you. It's actually very, very cheap for what it is, because you actually get a BTEC qualification in it, but it's an online video-based course, and there's a module for risk assessing violence in the workplace. So, go for it. It's there if you want it. I'm not going to sell it to you, but go and have a look. It might be something that's worth looking at. On that basis, one other thing, sorry, I meant to mention this as well. If you're coming on the September Restraint Instructors course, we've also done an extra benefit for you on there. Because a lot of the underpinning stuff on the Restraint Instructors course goes further than the Self-Defense Instructors course, we're offering you the opportunity to take Self-Defense Instructors Qualification, the BTEC Level 3 Advanced Self-Defense Instructor Award, at an additional cost of only £75 plus VAT. So that's saving you roughly £300 odd on the cost of attending a self-defense instructor's course. So that's a massive saving if you're looking at coming in September. Now, the difference between self-defense and restraint is, and I'll do this very briefly, I'm going to abridge this for you. Restraint is primarily an occupational type role that an agency will want you to actually undertake, particularly if you're looking after people who are vulnerable and challenging. Self-defense is a qualification you can take out into the greater community, where you teach people outside of work as well. It's still relative inside of work, but it's more designed for teaching members of the public to stay safe using self-defense skills that they might actually require on the street. So that's all I wanted to get out to you today. If you're thinking about September, the Restraint Instructors course in September, then please book on early. There's over 20 people on the course now. We're virtually full on that one there. We have a few places left. We may be able to get a bit more, but they are very, very limited, because the benefits of attending this year are absolutely extraordinary. And remember, all of your food and accommodation costs are included in the price of the course as well. Well, that's all for me from now. I'm going to chill out here for a bit because I've got a load of stuff to do. But thanks ever so much for listening. And hopefully I'll see somebody again shortly. But for those of you that attended the conference, thank you very much. For those of you that attended the Conflict Management Masterclass, thank you very much. I hope you got exceptional value for money. We always try and over-deliver. And for those of you that are coming September... in fact, sorry, one other thing. We've got the safeguarding course in August. I missed that one, sorry. 2nd to 4th of August, we have a child safeguarding trainer course taking place. There are about 4 places left on that course if you're interested. Again, we're running it at Lillishall. Food and accommodation is included in the cost, and Andy Gibb is an exceptional trainer. So if you weren't on the Conflict Management Masterclass and you weren't at the conference, but you're coming to the safeguarding course in August, I'll see you there. If you're not coming to the safeguarding course in August and you weren't at the conference or the Conflict Management Masterclass, then hopefully I'll see you on the Restraint Instructors course in September, or on the Conflict Management Masterclass course in September as well. But there should be links under this video, guys and guys, for all the stuff I'm talking about here. But as usual, if you have any questions, drop me an email, pick up the phone, give me a ring. I'll be delighted to hear from you. Thanks very much. Have a great weekend.